What is going on YouTube? This is Platinum Point, and I'm here to bring you guys yet again another Weiss Schwarz deck profile. So this one is going to be on my RWBY 8 standby list. So I've been kind of testing RWBY on the side since the ban list, since I had to shift my focus from Data Live onto other decks. I will be posting a post ban list Data Live list since English went through a huge change with a forbidden and restriction list. So overall, this deck is actually really interesting. When I was playtesting it, the goal with this deck was to take advantage of the utility of having 8 standby and the fact that the RWBY standby combo is actually really good in this meta, with Mushoku Tensei being the clear gatekeeper right now, and having a climax combo that bypasses one of their best answers to most decks, which is rest counters, is just beautiful. So I decided to try and fit these two in. So I'm running both the 3-2 RWBY combo as well as the 3-2 Pura combo. So without further ado, let's get on to the deck profile, starting with the level 0s. So we're playing 4 copies of the Neon Cat. So after testing it for quite a while, my opinion changed on it, especially with Mushoku Tensei, because being able to play this going second and answering the 3-5 runner is just really nice, because not only does it allow you to break their board without having to engage with it, but also it's a coin flip, so it allows you to retreat, and your opponent has to field more characters in order to make up for the tempo that they lost. And the benefit of this is it also can get around memory plays, or if they open up with any on reverse effects or even a Fukujiro, and they just swung with that, so that allows you to kind of play around that, because instead of sending it to the waiting room, it's a bottom deck, which is really nice. Next we play 3 copies of the Pura Fall Maiden's Vessel Candidate. So this is your on reverse Rize. So when it gets reversed, you get to reveal up to the top 3 cards of your deck. Choose 1 remnant character from among them, add it to your hand, discard a card, and then send the rest to the rating room. And it has another on reverse ability, which is send it to memory. So if you have 2 or less cards in your memory, shove it into memory. So the goal of the deck is to get at least 2 of these into memory, so you can close with the RWBY finisher, since she needs at least 2 of these Puras in memory. Continue on with the standby kind of theme. We play 3 copies of James Ironwood. So if you guys remember from the from Data Live, which was one of the few 8 standby decks that runs a similar effect to this, which was the Arisu Toka. James Ironwood is a pseudo Arisu, in which that you can discard any card to draw a card, and then you discard a remnant character to reveal the top card of your deck to salvage. So instead of a survey to add and discard, it's a discard to survey and salvage. So it has really good use, because it allows you to kind of set your grave up for your standby targets, as well as filtering out what you don't need in your hand and getting deeper into your deck. Continue on with the theme. Since this deck does have a lack of deck speed, we play 3 copies of the Lyren. So this is basically a on death so on reverse clock swap, and then an on death pay 1, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck up to the top 3, choose 1 of them, put them into clock, and then salvage. So it's a salvage Ricky that mills. So it's an interesting, since we need a lot of milling, this is kind of our main way of kind of milling out our deck at the 0 step. Then we play 3 copies of the Nora Valkyrie, which is your salvage Brainstorm. I've been thinking about cutting it down to one in order to fit one copy of a spammable brainstorm in order to increase the deck speed. But so far in the testing, I'm kind of hitting the adequate numbers. So if I do need to tweak the deck speed, I will cut down one and add in a neon not neon, the spammable brainstorm from the set. And then to wrap up with the level zeros, we play one copy of the Climax Swap RWBY. So continue on with the level ones now. We play four copies of the 1/1 uniform RWBY, which is basically your generic hand encore and your main standby target at level 0. Then we play two copies of the Atom Taurus. So this card is actually pretty interesting as it's a pseudo plussing level 1. So it's kind of like a climax combo in which his ability is on attack, sack a remnant character, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a remnant character, add it to your hand. So this pairs well with the Uniform Pura, which has the ability, if you have two or more other characters on play, draw a card and discard a card. It's a level 1 bomb, and the third ability, which is if this is sent to the waiting room, you can choose one of these level 0 Puras and shove it into memory if it's in the waiting room. If this is in the waiting room, that is. So there's a neat interaction where you front with the Pura, and then on the attack with the Atom Taurus, you sack the Pura to replace herself with another character from the top of your deck to add back to your hand, and then you shove a Pura from the waiting room into memory. And if you trigger standby, you essentially +1 off of it with while still adding a card from your hand. So this is essentially taking two cards out of the deck, which is the same thing as the Kaguya Shimakaze. So having that ability to just filter your deck is really nice. And this deck does a really good job at selective filtering, which is really nice. And then now going to the 2 steps, we play 2 copies of the Crow Free Fresh counter. Then we play 3 copies of the RWBY Embarking on a New Journey. So this is our level 2 standby target. You do have an option of playing the Yang one, but I like this one because it's a 10/5 and it does have the ability on attack scry. So it allows you to add a little extra mill to the deck because this deck does need some milling power. And the fact that if you check the standby, you can actually make the lane bigger. So being able to selectively choose whether to trigger the standby or just send it to the waiting room is really nice. And then onto the 3 steps, we play 1 copy of the Neapolitan. If you're not familiar with her, she's basically on play. She has 2 on play effects. The first one is pay 1, salvage a climax from your waiting room and add it to your hand. The second ability is discard 1 remnant character and then select 2 characters from your opponent's waiting room and place them on stage, anywhere on stage. So this helps you set up your reverses or even set up your opponent's lanes for the RWBY combo. So because since the RWBY benefits from having a character facing it, so you just being able to have characters there to eat up damage and be free clock kicks is really nice. Next, we play 1 copy of Salem, which is a on play. You can either stock swap, pay 1 stock swap, or pay 1 Icy Tail for I think 5. Yep, Icy Tail for 5, which is okay, but you're mainly using it for the stock swap, and it's a bit decently big body. Next, we play 1 copy of the Vital Festival RWBY. This is basically your off finisher of the deck, and just having a secondary finisher is really nice. Next, we play 2 copies of the Weiss Summoning, which is basically your level 3 standby target, which allows you to just power pump and tap. The third ability, tap itself, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, rearrange them. So this allows you to set up cancels, and it pairs well with the RWBY finisher since you're not going to be attacking. If you see a climax, you can rotate it and then use your free attacking lane to hit a free blank if you potentially have a climax and a blank trigger. So That just helps you set up cancels really nicely, scum cancels. And it's just a generic 2K beater. I mean 2K supporter. And we play 3 copies of Pura Nikos. So she combos with this standby. When she comes in, when you play the standby and you call her out from the waiting room, all you gotta do is pay 2, send this to the waiting room from the climax zone, and then you shuffle. Your opponent has to you select 5 cards or X number of cards on the board. I meant from your opponent's waiting room equal to the number of remnant characters on the board. So if you have 5 remnant characters, including her, your opponent has to shuffle back 5 cards from the waiting room back into their deck. So this allows you to decompress as well as push for damage. So if you see your opponent like getting close to refresh, you can punish it and push for free damage if they're banking on the refresh to help them reset and defend themselves better. So this allows you to punish that and just easily push for free damage. And then lastly, we play 4 copies of the Ruby Rose, which has the ability on play heal, and with the climax combo, it's essentially Megumin from Konosuba, which is at the beginning of your when this is at the start of your attack phase. If this is in the center stage, and you have the Ruby's Awakening climax on board, you can rest this, burn 3, and then select the character facing it and send it to clock. So this is basically the Megumin, but for burn 3, and it you don't have to pay stock, which is really nice. So overall, I do like this deck. It's really interesting in that it can set up really big boards, and it's a very defensive style deck, but it does eke out some advantages if you sequence it right. But there are other variants of Ruby that I'm kind of testing them. There's a bunch of aggro variants that I'm looking at, but I wanted to try out this 8 standby list because of the fact that we lost 8 standby Dow. So I just wanted to showcase it for those who are kind of having a fix for 8 standby. This is one list that you can try out. I will put the link of this deck list in the description below, and if you want to see me play some matches with this, please comment below. So once again, this is Platinum Point. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe. Stay on point, guys, and peace out.